Alright, so today we're going to talk about taking control of your finances. And the first thing we're going to look at are just some general guidelines and tips to help control things. Again, these are just tips. These are not set in stone, but just things to consider. So first idea is to know your bank balance. Actually look at your statements. And the idea is when you're trying to control your finances, looking at what's in your bank would help you avoid bouncing checks or having a debit card rejected. It's very frustrating to feel like you're overwhelmed and not knowing what's in there and not knowing if something's going to bounce or not. It sort of adds an extra stress and sort of makes it feel like it's harder to control one's spending. So you want to avoid those moments where you feel like you have no control. Second tip is to know what you spend. And this actually involves keeping track of numbers, taking a look at what transactions are happening, and actually writing down on a piece of paper or in a spreadsheet program or on a computer somewhere what type of spending is happening, and then hopefully looking for particular patterns. Third tip is to avoid buying things on impulse. So don't buy on impulse. Impulse is when we just go to the store, we're hungry, we see a candy bar, we're like, oh, that sounds kind of good, and we just buy it without even thinking about the repercussions about that. We want to make sure that any purchasing decision we make is intentional, not accidental. It's hard to keep track of one's finances when we can't even define for ourselves where we're making sort of problems. And again, the last tip, and these are not rules, these are just tips to help make finances seem more manageable, is to make a budget and then try to stick with it. So make a budget and don't overspend. So sit down each month and make a conscious decision about what you're going to spend money on and what your financial goals are. Okay, so he spends about $5 per day on this habit, and we're going to see how much this costs him in an overall year on this particular drink. So we have 7 days in 1 week. We have 4 weeks in a month. And we have 12 months in a year. So one thing we should notice is the unit should divide out, and we should be the amount of dollars per year. Now this is just that daily cup that he's drinking. So let me grab a calculator here. And we want, let's see, I guess cover that up. So we want 5 times 7 times 4 times 12. So he's spending $16.80 on just his daily cup. Okay, now let's add that third cup into perspective here. This is going to be a little bit on the trickier side. So every third day he gets a second one. So how many second cups is he going to have about in a year? So we have to kind of think, if we take 365 days in a year and we divide that by 3, That'll tell me how many times he's going to have that second cup. So 365 divided by 3 is about 121.7. So we kind of have to decide. He either drinks the 0.7, either drinks a cup or doesn't. He has to pay for the whole thing. So we're going to round that up to 128. Because it's about. So again, this is a rough estimate. So if we take that 128 and we multiply that by that 5, so that's $5 per cup, it's another $640. So to find out how much he total spends, it's the 1680 plus the 640. And again, this is all a rough estimate. 1680 plus the 640. So about $2,300. Okay, now I'm not here to tell you whether or not that's a good choice. I'm just simply here to point out that that's a habit he needs to consider. If he's got the disposable income and he can afford doing stuff like that, then go right ahead. But if it's a financial impact, if it's a struggle he's having, and at this point he's having to decide between coffee or food, then maybe it's something he wants to reconsider. So there you go. Cassidy has recently begun keeping her spending under better control, but she still can't fully pay off her credit card. She maintains an average monthly balance of about $1,100, and her card charges 24% annual interest rate, which it bills at a rate of 2% per month. How much is she spending on her credit card interest? Okay, so let's kind of think about this. She's got $1,100 that she owes total. They are charging a monthly interest of 2%. So let's just start off with the 0.02 times the 1,100, and that will give us the monthly amount she's paying in interest alone. Okay, so she's spending $22 just on interest each month, and then there are 12 months in a year. So 12 times 22 is $264 that she's spending on interest. So is she getting a good handle on this? 260 on just interest alone. So in other words, she's not getting any benefit out of it, just to owe the money. She's paying that. So she might want to look at different things that she can do to spend her money a little wiser. Maybe some different budgeting habits that maybe she would like to look at that will help fix her credit card issue. Okay, so let's talk about a 4-step budget. Budgeting was one of the tips on how to get control of your finances. So let's take a look at what would constitute a reasonable budget. So step 1 is to list all income. This is anything that could come up during any extra money you get, birthday money, Christmas money, anything that might just show up on at all. You want to take a second and list out when you're getting those things and what you expect to have to work with as far as your finances go. And step 2, you want to list all monthly expenses. And this includes just your constant monthly bills. This includes anything that could come up short term, if you want to have a budgeting for birthday presents or vacation. You just want to list out all the possible places your money could go. Step 3, you want to subtract your total expenses from the total income. And what you're doing is you're taking, I know I have this much money each month to spend. I know I have this much money coming out, and the hope is that you get a positive result. And if you don't, that's where number 4 comes in. You're going to make adjustments as needed. Okay, now this all sounds fine and good on paper, but if you're not aware of where the money's going, you're not aware of what your resources are, then it's really hard to feel like you have control over your finances. And so that's the whole point of this particular section is to how to feel like you actually are making a difference in your financial goals and coming up with a plan. So that last statement about make adjustments as needed, that means you either want to go in and find other sources of income, or you want to reevaluate those expenses and see if there's something you can cut. You know, maybe you're going to the gym, or maybe you're paying for a gym and you're not going, and that's something that can disappear.